So Wednesday have eventually released their retained list. And some surprises in there, maybe, I don't know. Overall, I don't think it's too bad. I think there's a little bit of common sense in there, if I'm honest with you. Now, which way am I going to do it? Shall I do who's going first? Okay, we'll do who's going first. Obviously, the three long lads have gone back. Beadle, Charles, Sissoko, I forgot his name then, but then I would do one because I can't remember seeing much of him. Stuart Armstrong being released. I liked Armstrong. I think he was a really intelligent footballer. I thought he was getting better as it went on. Obviously, a little bit behind with fitness because he'd been over in Canada and not had a full pre-season and whatever. And I would have liked to have seen him stay, if I'm honest with you. I thought he was a really nice footballer and give us that little bit of intelligence around the box that maybe sometimes when we've been trying to break teams down. But over 30, a decent earner, so maybe understandable. Another one released, Paul Valentin. I'd agree with that, I think. Overall, I liked him when he first come in. He's got that pace and that little bit of energy down that right-hand side. But again, I think Wednesday, especially at home this season, we've struggled to break teams down. Away, countering on teams with pace, very effective at home when we've got more possession and teams getting 8, 9 players behind ball. You need something a little bit different to unlock the door. And for me, Paul, mainly that trick of little shimmy inside, knock ball on outside and get crossing. I don't want to say one-dimensional, I think that's overly harsh, but with the options that we've got there, Gassama can play out there and Masaba and whatever, I can understand that. Maybe we can get somebody else in. Hatsuse on his way as well, the Japanese international. Bizarre thing that, weren't it? A deal to end the season. I presumed he'd got a year or something when we signed him. I think he struggled a bit physically with English football and maybe the pace of the game a little bit. Defensively, I think he found it hard work. But going forward, I thought he offered a bit. 27-year-old, got a really good cross on him. And have we seen enough of him to make that decision? As a supporter, I don't think we have. But obviously the coaching staff, the managerial staff, they see him every day in training, so they've made that decision, Who has made these decisions? Danny's in Germany. We don't know if he's coming back, but more than likely not coming back. He said, didn't he, before he went back, I've made recommendations. So are these his recommendations? Are they the coaching staff's recommendations? Powell, Pedersen, their input? Or is it the club's idea who to keep? No idea. I'd like to think that the coaching team have had some input into it, especially if they're still going to be here next season. So Hatsuse gone, and then we get into the more well-known players, the lads who've been here a few years. Michael Hekwe leaving Wednesday. Talk about him going to MK Dons, actually. I think he'd be a fantastic signing for them. I think he'd do a really good job for them. I mean, he was terrific for us in that promotion season, weren't he? And terrific for us this season, actually. We've conceded a lot of goals. He came in and, as I've said, and I don't mean this in a cruel way, but a meat and drink defender, head, tackle, block, and you need a bit of that. I think he's come in and done a terrific job when he was asked, out of the picture at the beginning of next season. I think he was told he could, look for another club in January or whatever, but he's come in and performed well. But we do need to build. We do need to build for the future. We do need strengthening at centre half, and I hope we've got our eyes on some talented centre backs out there. The one question I would ask, and you can probably say this for nearly every position: are we going to be able to get in anyone better? Now you'd hope so, but you never can tell, can you? Ben Hamer going, and I saw a poll the other day. I think it was 9% of people said, "Yeah, let Ben Hamer go." I'd have probably kept him. Hear me out. I know he's never made an appearance for the club. Now, unless he's got some sort of crippling injury. I know he's had a knock, but unless he's got a crippling injury, Pierce Charles is going to be number 1 next season, isn't he? So you need a good reliable, experienced number 2, I believe. We let Aimer go, you're not going to sign a new number 1, are you? You're not going to sign a number 1 because Charles is probably going to be a number 1. He's not going to have another season sat on the bench. I think he's getting to that age when he's going to be playing. So if you're letting Aimer go, what is he, 36? What are you then going to have to replace him with another like 35, 36-year-old? One in, one out? I don't really know about that. Oh, my bloody light's gone. Last player on the release list, Marvin Johnson. Now, I agree with it. I think Marv's had an up and down season, and I think towards the end he's looked like he's been struggling a little bit, for form and maybe confidence. I don't know. Obviously, he's not getting any younger. We do need a new left back, or competition down that side rather for Max Lowe next season. Obviously, not going to be Hatsusi, not going to be Marvin Johnson now. But I'm also glad that we've released Marvin Johnson for another reason, which is for Marvin Johnson. I'll try and explain what I mean by that. I think Marvin Johnson's done a fantastic job for this football club, absolutely brilliant. And what I wouldn't want to happen is for Marvin Johnson to stay, not be as good as he was, and for that recency bias to affect how people remember him. Because he's done a fantastic job for this football club since he signed. 169 appearances, 10 goals, 30 assists, and no more important assist, and I really do mean this, probably in the last 15 years for the club, than that one at Hillsborough against Peterborough. What I love about that, the pressure, the clock is ticking. There's literally seconds on the clock. And so many people in that situation would panic. They'd smash it into the first man, they'd blast it back out for a goal kick, or they'd try a daft shot. When that ball comes to him, it's so calm, and lifts it into an area. And that's what I've said about his crossing all the time he's been here. Don't try and hit the man. He puts it in an area for the man to attack. It's a sign of a brilliant crosser at the ball, and he's been fantastic. Not the best defender, we know that, but these 30 assists he's got and the 10 goals he's got, he's done that mainly from left wing back, left full back, and even left-sided centre half. Let's not forget he played a lot of games there. And I think he's done a terrific job for us. And he goes with well wishes. And like I said, I want him to go with us remembering the brilliant things that he did for Wednesday. So yeah, Marvin Johnson, terrific for Wednesday, and goes with everybody's best wishes, I'm sure. Now, Wednesday have triggered the closers of 3 players: Michael Smith, Josh Windass, Anthony Masaba. I'll start with Masaba. I'm talking to people, and I've done it myself this year, and I've thought about it. He's in an in and out season, he's had a lot of knocks, he's been in and out at team, struggled for form. Obviously, Gassama's come in, done well, sort of overtaken him really. And when he's come in, he's had cameos here and there, and he's maybe reverted a little bit to making some of those mistakes we were making when he first arrived, maybe holding on to the ball a little bit too long, dilly-dallying on the edge of the box. And yet, for all that said, still scored 3 goals and got 6 assists. And I'm saying that's not a very good season. But it's not a bad season for someone who's not been on top of the game. Totally common sense to re-sign him. He's at the right age. Again, he's a player that we can develop. That's what we've got to start doing, developing these players. He's still at an age where we can develop him on. And potentially someday in the future is going to be worth money. So completely understand that we've triggered that. Whether he wants to be here is a different matter. But I'm glad we've triggered that. The Michael Smith one, I thought it'd be touch and go whether we kept Michael Smith. Obviously, again, into his early 30s now. And at the beginning of last season, there was a lot of talk, he's not going to get in and this and that. And then when we were struggling for goals, we went through that stage, we were playing well. that phrase that were coming back to haunt us all the time, but good between the boxes. And he came in and started nicking goals, especially from substitutes bench. Now, I'm sure, especially at his age, that he'll want to be playing week in, week out. You know, you don't want to be sat on bench at his age. Maybe he wants to find a club where he can play every week, but we've triggered this clause. And I think he does add a bit of value to the squad. He's got a lot of experience. He has nicked vital goals. And what he also brings is that ability to change a game. Now, I don't mean change a game like coming on like Diego Maradona and doing something outstanding, or, you know, beating 3 or 4 men. But the way we approach the game, you know, maybe when we're patient and knocking it about and that's not working, sometimes you've got to get a bit more direct, get it into the mix. And he's a threat in the box. And equally, and I know this isn't the reason that you'd sign a centre forward, but equally he's good at defending in our box as well. And we've struggled with defending this year, especially from set pieces. And having somebody like that, experienced campaigner, like I said, I touch and go, but I can sort of understand why he's done it. The other thing, of course, is Ugbo is, you know, our main striker going into next season. He's got to have some competition up there. If he starts next season like he started this, I don't think he will, by the way. I think he will come round. But you've got to have someone else who you can stick in there and bring something different. And Michael Smith does offer that. The third of the triggered players, and maybe he has been triggered in more ways than one, is Josh Winders. Now, apparently on social media, he's put a bit of a joke out. I'm sure you've all seen it, if you want, about sort of being a prisoner. I find it quite amusing. I'm sure it's a bit tongue-in-cheek. If it's not tongue-in-cheek, well, Wednesday still win anyway. I've said this before. Josh Winders, top scorer this season. I think I said it other month in a video. Top scorer, creates things, and scored a goal out of nothing. And how much does it cost to replace a player like him? He's worth his place in the team forward he brings on the pitch, the goals he scores, you know, the attacking play that he brings. But equally, by signing him back up, if he does want to go, and if someone else does want him, somebody's going to now have to pay for him. So, understandable decision from Wednesday. 100% agree with that one. 100%. It's an absolute no-brainer. Now, Wednesday have offered contracts to 3 players. Firmao, Bannon and Patterson. The Firmao one, again, I think that's one where people are like, well, he's injured a lot and this and other. I agree with offering him a deal. We've been so short at centre-half this year. Now, I know he's had his injury problems, but I do think at the beginning of the season, that is the best we've seen from him in a Wednesday shirt. I really do. He did pick up that injury. I think that affected us badly because we've made a positive start to the season. If he can get back fit and ready to go for next season, he brings us that balance into back four. And with him being a left-sided centre-half as well, it also allows us to push Max Lowe out into that left full-back position. And if we went into next season genuinely with a back four, which included Firmao at left-sided centre-half and Max Lowe at left full-back, I'd be more than happy with that. More than happy with that. So I think that's a good decision. Barry Bannon's been offered a contract. I think that's a no-brainer. I know people talk, you can't keep relying on Barry Bannon. Well, yes, you can until you can sign someone better. I'm not sure we've got the money to sign anyone better. And there's something else that Barry Bannon brings that I want to talk about, which is not just what he does on the pitch. Obviously, he's still one of our most creative players. He sort of gets the team going. And I talk a lot about the rhythm of a game. I think Barry Bannon's a player who understands the rhythm of a game, when, where, when to slow it down, when to speed it up. So there's that side of it. But equally, we're going to have a bit of a rebuild this season. And when you're bringing in a lot of new players, you've got to keep the character of the dressing room, if you know what I mean. It's not just about bringing in talent and this or that. It's different personalities coming in. And you've got to have people who are still in there to set the standard in training every day. And in terms of what the coaching staff are asking for, you've got to have players in that dressing room as well who are driving that and saying, this is what we expect here in this dressing room. Now, I know you can say managers and coaches say that, But it can fall on deaf ears. It really can, especially if it's the same voices and you're hearing them every day. And when you're a new player coming in, you bring a bit of your own personality with you. And if you get too many coming in at once, all fresh faces, it can create a different dynamic and a different culture in the dressing room. So I think it's vital that you keep Barry Bannon, not just for what he does on the pitch, but for what he brings off the pitch. And that, like I said, leadership in the dressing room, not always in terms of talking and telling people what's expected, but by showing people what's expected in terms of getting in training every day and the standards that you have there. So I'm sure he'll re-sign anyway. You know, he's one of our top appearance makers ever, and I won't be surprised if he's got his eye on getting right up there into the top couple. So fully understandable, and I'm 100% convinced he will sign. When we come to the last one, players offered contracts, Callum Paterson. And again, this is the one that seems to be causing the most debate online. I don't understand that at all. As you know, fully paid up member of the Callum Paterson fan club. But again, it's about personalities in the dressing room as well. You can have as much talent as you want. You've got to have personalities in there and people who bring that drive and energy and mentality to things. I think Callum Paterson does that. But one of the things I see put at Callum Paterson is, you know, he's not good enough player. And I never really understand what people mean by that. I think people get confused between footballer and player. I think that's what they mean. I'd like to see a nicer footballer. When they say, oh, he's not good enough player, I think that's what they mean. I don't think he's a nice enough footballer. Well, I'm not bothered with people who are nice footballers. I like effective players, and Callum Paterson is effective. In fact, if you look at his stats this season, he didn't get his first start till January. And yet, he's our fourth top scorer. He's only had 14 starts, and that came in the 2025 half of this 24-25 season. 14 appearances. By the way, 7 of them on the right wing, 1 on the left wing, so only 7 games up front. 5 league goals and 1 in the cup. 14 starts, 6 goals. What's not to like? On top of that, he brings that drive, he brings that energy, he brings that shithousery that we talk about all the time. And you know, we all want to see good football and blah, 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 and I fully understand that, but Hillsborough Stadium can be quiet. And it's not just this year or last year or whatever. That's always been the case. And sometimes you have games where they're quiet and there's lulls. The ball just getting knocked about, 2 teams, maybe neither of them's really taking the game by the scruff of the neck. Now, you can have an incredibly talented player who can come on and beat 3 or 4 men like Agasama or whatever. But you can affect games in other ways. You can change the momentum of a game in another way, and Callum Paterson does that. He's an absolute menace. I was only talking about this the other day. I look back to the derby game against United. Now, they're the better squad, the better side, and we couldn't break them down. But the first 10 minutes or so, Wednesday really threw it at them. And the thing that killed that momentum, you know, if we got an early goal there, we could have made it hard for them. The thing that killed us there was Callum Paterson getting a booking. And that shows how effective he is as a player and how effective he was before that. He does bring something different. And again, if you're looking at next season, the versatility, we don't know who we've got lined up as replacements for players. How many have we let go? I think 6 let go and the loan players have gone back. So I think we're looking at needing to bring in probably 10 players. I really do. I think we need another left back to compete with Max Lowe. Could do with possibly another right back, but if we don't, again, Callum Paterson can play right back. He can play right wing. He can play centre forward. He can play centre midfield. Played left midfield. I think there's only left back he hasn't played since he's been here. Left back and goalkeeper. So the versatility he brings and the energy he brings completely makes sense to me. Will he sign? I think he will actually, you know. Got an house here, got a family here. Why wouldn't you want to live in the best city in Britain? That's the other thing, isn't it? Perfect city to bring up a family. So I think he will sign, and I'm delighted he has signed. Anyway, let me know what you think about the retention list. What do you think about the players who's gone? I think overall they've got a decent balance there. I don't know who's made the decisions, as I said. I don't know if it's Pedersen, don't know whether it's Danny Roll, don't know if it's all the coaching staff, don't know if it's Paxo, don't know if it's Chansere, I don't know who it is. But I've got to say, overall, I think the balance is about right.